I look like a gardener to you? I am a better, I am not a gardener. Hedging is for gardens. How does your garden grow?
With plus money.
With plus money. Hedging is for gardens.
Good day, everybody. Simon Holden here on Betting Weekly Live. It's the start of another exciting week here on the fastest growing sports betting channel that is everywhere or even anywhere. And Nigel Seeley, the gaffer, the man himself, a man who suffers for his art. Boys, he's suffering today. Joins me as we take a look at the sporting week. Nigel, how are you feeling, mate?
I'm good, mate. A bit hot, very flustered, a bit muggy, bit of hay fever today. Nursing a bit of a hangover from Friday night at the Oasis concert. But you know, when you're a rock and roll star, mate, you got to put up with this kind of stuff. So it's but all good to see you, mate. Really good to see you.
And you, mate. And you, mate.
Quiet day, though. Quiet day.
The sort of hay fever a man can get after a heavy weekend. It's funny how the body doesn't resist these things. But anyway, looks like you had a great weekend. I had a great weekend myself at the Seniors Open at Sunningdale. More of that later, perhaps. But people are coming in all the time. Great to see you guys. What do you think about the tennis, folks? Give us your best bets. Of course, the men's and women's we will come to. But we're going to start with some Premier League football because, Nigel, this is the time of year when any Premier League supporter doesn't dare look sometimes at the headlines. Have you lost the player? Have you not got the player you want? But what we want to do is work out whether all this transfer action and transfer talk is going to make us want to enter the market, or is going to see the market adjust to some big money departures and some big money arrivals as the top teams juggle their kind of their squads. And certainly in the case of Man City, bring in several new big money signings and people leave. So, firstly, the Premier League. I know this is you're really the tennis man, but we're getting very, very near now to your other great love, Premier League football. And are you starting to get the old juices flowing?
Well, I mean, the thing is, it felt like a big weekend in the Premier League. It felt like a sort of a big 7 days. We've got 3 weeks to start the season. Obviously, in a couple of weeks' time, you have the curtain raiser, the Community Shield between Crystal Palace and Liverpool at Wembley Stadium. The week after, the Friday night, we go straight into the action. So it's still 3 weeks away from the start of it. The Football League, League One and League Two over in England, starts on Friday night. So that's when everyone starts looking about their accumulators, their parlays, trying to put teams into big prices to try to hit the jackpot. The thing with the Premier League, for years and years and years, it hasn't really been a very interesting betting heat. You know, you've had Manchester City,
not in the outright.
Yeah, well, not in the outright market, and not in the props either, really, because you had a lot of teams who got promoted from the Championship as heavy favourites to get relegated. You had Haaland dominating the goal scorer markets. There's a question mark about Haaland now from last season, what he was a couple of seasons before. Pep may playing him in a slightly different role. You know, in terms of you have Mamouche playing for them as well. So it's a really interesting time for the Premier League, but it felt like a really big weekend. Goalscorer, Arsenal finally got their man. He's going to the Emirates. Will he turn? They've been desperate for a striker. Is he the right person? And then you've got Liverpool, who over the weekend have done some incredible business. Ekitike has gone there, the centre forward over from Germany. Wirtz, probably the best attacking midfielder in the whole of Europe. He's gone there. And there's talk of Isaac, obviously. And I know that Adam Thompson says, no, Isaac, talk, please. And I've had to get it in after 4.5 minutes. But if they do get Isaac, I mean, Liverpool have got to be a bet. I mean, if they get him by the end of the week, I mean, some bookmakers over here are betting whether he goes to Liverpool. He's -$3 to go to Liverpool. So there does seem to be that he looks like he's inevitably going to turn up. They've done some good business to offload Diaz. They're probably going to offload Nunes as well. Unfortunately, they haven't got Jota this year in tragic circumstance, but the players that they've got in, I mean, it's frightening. I mean, if they have a front three of Salah, Wirtz, and Isaac, I mean, that is incredible. And when you think about it, at the start of the season, or at the end of last season, there was talk about 3 of their key players leaving, which were Salah, Van Dijk, and obviously Trent Alexander-Arnold. they've managed to keep 2. Trent has gone. They've done some good business in the fullback positions as well, bringing in the guy from the fullback from, I can't remember his name, Gerkes from Bournemouth. They're in Frimpong as well. And they just look like a solid team, don't they? I mean, and if it's just frightening. I mean, you look at it. Let's have a look at some of the odds to win the Premier League title here.
Yeah,
I mean,
let's have a look at the outrights.
I mean, Liverpool have been nibbled at a little bit into like plus 185, Simon. Arsenal plus 225, Man City 3. And it's the first time I can remember for a long time in a Premier League race where we have 4 teams at single figure prices. Now, that's unusual in the Premier League race to have 4 teams single figure prices. The likes of Manchester United and Tottenham have got to improve on last year. Aston Villa are a side that are capable of beating anybody any day. Newcastle, if they lose Isaac, it's going to be a big problem for them to replace his goals. So they're a club that may be in a little bit of problem, especially when you consider that they've got Champions League football. Couple of interesting things there for me. I don't know if that's a typo from producer John or something, but if that's Man United are 4-1 to finish in the top 4, and Newcastle are plus 175, but they're both 33-1 to win it. But that's if Newcastle lose Isaac, I mean, that's take 20 plus goals away from that. That's a tough ask for them. So Liverpool, just incredible. If you look at the last 8 Premier League titles, the favourite has won it 6 times. And if you look at last season, they finished 10 points ahead of Arsenal, which is so Arsenal going to get 4 wins, more wins this season. Man City, they finished 13 points, so they've got to get 5 on them. And Chelsea, 15 points ahead. They've got to get 6 wins, obviously with a goal difference as well. Are they going to drop that many points? They'd only lost 4 games last season, but 2 of them come right at the end of the campaign when they'd already won the title. They eased up in the last month or so. They had that match against Fulham, which was a crazy match. They only lost 1 match at home. And I would argue, with Isaac, they're stronger. And we won it by 10 points last year. So I know Chelsea and Man City are going to make some inroads, but they played obviously in the World Club Championship, or the Club World Cup, whichever way you want to call it. I think that's going to take its toll on them at the start of the season, especially. I know Man City went out early, but Chelsea won it. And I think that's going to, whenever teams have been resting and recuperating, they've had some real tough matches and travelling back as well. I think that might be a bit of a problem for them. The likes of Newcastle in the Champions League, extra pressure on that. But the signing of Isaac will make Liverpool go from plus 185 to probably plus 140, plus 130.
That's the key thing. If we feel it's 3s on for this transfer to be done. Now, Adam Thompson, friend of the show, no Isaac talk, please, gents, Toom fan. I'm an Everton fan, Adam. I'd be slightly less jumping up and down for joy than you will be if he signs. But in the last 3-4 days, I feel like the betting momentum has got behind Liverpool in this title race. I really feel there's a sea change with the signing from Frankfurt of the striker already. And it looks like when you see a player not go on tours as he hasn't, when you see things like that happen, it really looks like he'll be going. And of course, if he does sign, it strengthens them further. We know he's a great goal scorer, and it weakens one of their rivals, which was always the old Liverpool trick, wasn't it? To buy the best 3 players that were in the division and weaken their rivals as well as strengthening their squad. So I think you're right. I think Liverpool will shorten over the next couple of days. So if we feel that transfer's a done deal and that will shorten, is it maybe time to get on now?
Yeah, I think they'll start shorter than plus 185. Yeah. I'm still not convinced about Goalscorer as the signing for Arsenal. I mean, he scored an awful lot of penalties. I think if Arsenal fans said to you, you got Goalscorer or you could go in for Isaac, they'll be all over Isaac. I mean, they may have made their move too early. If they didn't make their move, they could have probably competed with Isaac, but he appears to be wants to be a Liverpool player. Man City, I believe, is a work in process. Chelsea are obviously the interesting one in terms of how they're going to kick on. They seem to be, the guy from Brighton they've signed is a great sign, the Brazilian striker. Kai Havertz is questionable about him at top level, but I think that for Arsenal, Kai Havertz is a bit questionable. But I think Chelsea, Cole Palmer, everything relies on him. If he has a good season and Chelsea do well, as you saw at the early part of the season, he played well, Chelsea played well. When he didn't play well, Chelsea didn't play well. But we've mentioned the players that Liverpool have. We haven't even mentioned Gakpo. We haven't even mentioned Gravenberg, McAllister. I mean, it's frightening the squad they're assembling. And unfortunately, I do believe that they will shorten up. Every pro bettor hasn't really come out yet and put their big bets down on the Premier League, but I think most of them will be looking and circling around the price in Liverpool. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think obviously he got Arnslot in his second season. He probably learned a lot about his rivals last year, a lot about how Premier League football works. I think the joker in the pack there is Aston Villa. Now, I believe Bet Rivers on this market are paying a third the odds, 1-2. I just think Villa without Champions League, Nigel, might play a dummy team in the European competition they're in and really have a real go at this league. That's the only one that strikes out. But you're right, we've got 4 teams below 10-1. That's really rare. We are going to have a contest, or we want a contest, don't we? But looks like Liverpool have played a very, very clever summer.
I think that's an interesting point there about the AFCON. You know, the African Cup of Nations is on this year, which means Salah will lose. But, you know, Arsenal will not lose anybody to the AFCON. So they're one of the only squads, and Aston Villa, they're one of the only 2 squads in the Premier League who do not have any representatives in the AFCON this year. Chelsea will lose Nicholas Jackson, their striker. Big blow for him. If you look at Manchester City, they'll lose Mamouche and the new defender they bought from Wolves as well. He won't be there as well. So Newcastle will not lose any players. So that is a factor. But if they've got the likable, you know, they've got Gakpo and Wirtz hits the ground running, then Liverpool, you know, Ekitike is obviously be brought in to cover Salah when he's there. And if they get Isak, they'll start with Isak. I mean, it's going to be very, very interesting this season to see what goes on. But it's a really exciting Premier League. I mean, it's the first. I haven't really looked at the football at all, but obviously now the Football League is starting up at the weekend, and I'm getting excited about it. But I do think Liverpool, and also you've got this emotional every match at the COP and everything at Liverpool is going to be dedicated to Diego Jota, and this is a club that really gets everybody going. You know, behind. In tragic circumstances, and I think they'll be playing for him in every single match they play. And I just got a feeling Liverpool. I just can't see how Arsenal can make 10 points on them.
No, I can't.
And I don't see how Man City can close them down by 13 and Chelsea 15.
Well, Adam Thompson makes an interesting point here. I think City are massive at plus 300, 13 behind Liverpool last season. How bad were they midway through the season? With Rodri back and new additions, I'd have them only slightly behind Liverpool. So with a differential in odds, all I'd say about that is it's like Pep has finally decided and realized that he needs to bring a new team together and that the players all got old together. I wonder if this will be a season of transition for them.
The other thing for those players that Man City have brought in, a lot of them have never played in the Premier League. And it's going to take a bit of time for them to get used to the Premier League. Gyökeres is a player that never, you know, he was sold by Brighton for £1 million and they played in the Championship, never played in the Premier League. It's a lot of pressure with that kind of money move on them. Whereas Liverpool are buying Isak, you know, Gyökeres, the fullback at Bournemouth, who have played in the Premier League week in and week out. So they know at the top level as well of the Premier League. Newcastle obviously playing the Champions League this season, and Isak was responsible for them beating Liverpool in the League Cup as well. So they're buying proven players who know what to do in this league. And it is an old cliche, but it does take a season sometimes. It's very rare that someone comes in. Haaland was the only people I can think of in living memory who come in straight away and just was brilliant. I mean, even Thierry Henry, when he come to the Premier League, it took him a couple of seasons. Took your time. Yeah. And I think it's the expectation on Arsenal with Gerksy to come in is that he's going to come in and get the goals for him to win the title. I think you'd want to go with someone who's already got 25 goals in the season or 20 plus goals of the season in the Premier League for the last couple of seasons, and that guy was Isak. And that's a different kettle of fish for me.
Now, Manchester United, obviously a very difficult season last year. You just talked about players with proven Premier League form. They've made, I think, 2 very good signings. Now, I'm not saying they're in the outright race, but could there be any value in the top 4?
I think they're an interesting one. But again, I mean, they're going to lose Mbumu, the striker. He plays for the Cameroon in the AFCON. They're going to lose the goalie. Anana. I suppose a lot of people might think that's a positive for them to lose him.
That's why I'm betting them.
Yeah, he's going to Diallo, Ivory Coast. I mean, they're going to lose 4 decent players in the AFCON. I think they're a work in process. I think if you Amarin, I think their thing is get us into top 4 and try to win us a cup competition. That's what people have done at Man United in the last couple of years and kept their job. Louis van Gaal done it. Ten Hag done it. They won the FA Cup. If he wins an FA Cup, it will be considered a good season. But on the price disparity between Man United at 4-1 to finish in the top 4 and Newcastle at plus 175, I'd be betting Man United ahead of Newcastle if Isak goes, because that is going to take some replacement. I know there is talk about Wissa from Brentford, but that's a tough replacement there.
And it's very late in the day to be hunting around for replacements, isn't it?
Yep, 100%.
Right, that's the good bit. Now let's look at the relegation, and this is a market with a lot more certainty, we might say. Sunderland minus 400, Burnley minus 250, as the pattern is taken to play out again of the promoted sides heading straight back down. Is it going to be a season of formula, Nigel, or as some of the transfers in the other teams that have weakened them? I'm thinking of Brentford, thinking of Bournemouth possibly. Could they sneak into contention?
Well, I think some of the transfers that Sunderland and Burnley have done have been very, very good in the Premier League level. And I mean, obviously they've got inexperience, especially Sunderland, but I mean, Scott Parker's an exceptionally good manager. And the players he's brought in have got really good Premier League experience. I mean, Carl Walker, good player. Jaden Anthony from Bournemouth for £8 million. Marcus Edwards from Sporting Lisbon. Humphreys from Chelsea for 12 million. I mean, he built in a guy from Lazio as well for 13 million. They've spent an awful lot of money. They've got some decent kind of players. They've got money behind them. American investment, got decent money behind them. I think they might do all right. I don't think they're going to finish like mid-table, but I think they might finish full from bottom because they're very well defensively. They've lost the goalkeeper, Trafford, which is a big blow, but they're in for a couple of replacements I've heard of for them talking about that they may be getting in. They're trying to get Nick Pope back from Newcastle, which would be a good sign. He was there. I think Burnley have done all right. Sunderland have got some decent players. They've just bought the former the midfielder who plays for Arsenal, Granit Xhaka. He's just gone back there as well. So Xhaka, I think that they might struggle at the price, but I think there's better alternatives here in this market. Brentford, I believe, if they sold Wissa and Mbumo, the amount of goals that they are producing to that team without them, and obviously the captain who's gone to Arsenal as well, and with a rookie manager, they would be the team I would worry about. And I think that Wolves might struggle this year. Wolves have got rid of Kuna, who obviously was exceptional for them, absolutely exceptional. The manager did really well when he came in, played 25 matches, won 12, drew 4 and lost 9. But that is a worry to get rid of someone like Kuna from that team. And if I was looking for a couple of people to get into that mix, it's those two above the promoted 3. So Wolves, Brentford. Fulham would be too strong. West Ham, I quite like Potter to be the first manager to be sacked, but I probably wouldn't bet them at 6-1. They have the capability of turning it around and have the capability of buying big as worth needed. Palace, they'll have no problem. Brilliant manager. Everton might struggle at the new stadium, but I think Wolves and Brentford would be my worry.
Well, interestingly enough, Nigel, the view from the guys in the chat is not the promoted teams. Byron Merrill, Wolves are in trouble. Giuseppe, I want to fade Forest and Brentford. And Tristan Wiggle, I think Hammers fans should be worried. Well, I know a few. They always seem to be worried when I speak to them. But so there are people think that there could be a Premier League established clubs dragged in. I think Forest might have a poor season. I think they're a bit of value in that relegation market. I agree with you, Giuseppe. I think that, I don't know, that they've lost a very powerful player, the right wing guy, haven't they? And Langen, yeah. And
Gibbs White signed a contract though, which is a bit of a thing. But you've got a lunatic owner who.
Well, this is it. You've got a chaotic club to throw into the mix, haven't you?
And then they're in European football as well, which is going to put extra pressure on them. They've got a small squad, so the extra pressure. There's always that negativity coming back. They've got goals from Chris Woods, and Gibbs White. If they lost Gibbs White and he went to Tottenham, I think they'd be all right. But I think they'll have enough. They're one of the best goalkeepers in the Premier League last season. He'll keep them out of trouble as well. So I think it's all to do with the fact that the owner might get involved, blame the manager for a performance, and he might just say, I've had enough and see you later, and that'd be a problem for me. But I think there'll be just about enough. I would worry much more about Brentford. To lose the manager, Thomas Frank, exceptional manager.
Huge.
3 best players. You saw them lose Ivan Toney last year, but they coped okay, Wissa and Mbuma. Both of those are gone. That's 40 goals you've lost, and your captain as well gone to Arsenal. Your recruitment system is one that doesn't really spend a lot of money, but scouts across Europe to find good players. You've got a rookie manager who was a set piece coach at Sheffield United and assistant manager at Republic of Ireland, never managed in the Premier League. If they get off to a bad start, Brentford are in big trouble for me.
And he could be in big trouble. You're on about the markets for first out. I think if it went wrong quickly there, that might be a quick decision. Fascinating stuff. So it seems that relegation market is not as clear-cut as Bet Rivers would have you think. Now, we're quickly going to have a look at the top scorer market. And the reason is because I do think there's an angle here. Because when this market was put together, of course, Alexander Isak was put in as a Newcastle player, which he remains. But if we feel he's going to be heading to Anfield, do you think that price should change, Nigel?
I think it will change, but I think it's wrong to change because Isak is 7-1 to win the top goal scorer in the market, and the basis that he's Newcastle's man. He takes penalties and free kicks. If he goes to Liverpool, then is he going to take penalties off Salah? And they're going to share the goals around, and I think it pushes out Salah and Isak. Then he's not the sole striker. I think when you're in the top goal scorer in the Premier League, you have to be the sole striker of the club, play virtually every game, and hopefully take penalties. And if Isak doesn't take penalties and Salah keeps the penalties, then I think he goes to double figures. There's also the chance that he won't play as many games. And usually when you've got squad rotation, you've got Isak, you've got Salah, you've got Ekitike, you've got Gakpo. There's a chance that when they're at home to probably the weakest team in the Premier League and they're -$4 or -$5, Isak won't play. But at Newcastle, we'd play and probably get a hat-trick. So I think he goes bigger. I think the market will probably make him shorter, but I think he goes bigger. Haaland is the interesting one because for the last 2 seasons, Haaland been starting at -$2. So last year, Haaland missed a whole lot of the season with injury, and he still finished third, I think. So if you think Man City are going to challenge again, Haaland's still going to be the main man to get the goals. The other one I like is Cole Palmer at 16-1. I mean, Saka as well, 33-1 and Goalscorer. Well, Saka
I like that. I like that 33s on Saka.
Well, Saka takes penalties. He's not going to take penalties.
Yeah.
Goalscorer will take penalties for Arsenal. Or if Goalscorer doesn't take the penalties and Saka does, then Goalscorer's chances. Goalscorer's got so many penalties for Sporting Lisbon. I mean, I think these prices are when you've got so many players and you share goals around. I think that is a problem. But I think João Pedro and I think Chelsea will be very entertaining this season. Lots of goals. Jackson, João Pedro, Cole Palmer. Cole Palmer, I think on his day is probably the best English player we have. I rate him that highly. But last season he just fell off. In the second half of the season he was nowhere. I bet him to be the top assist maker, and I think he's a bet at that market extra at 6-1. But Cole Palmer around about 20s, top goal scorer, first 3. I might be interested in that. He was on fire at the Club World Cup, so he would be my bet. I couldn't bet Isak at the price if he's a Liverpool player.
No, because your emotional response is this guy's going to the champions, and then of course he'll be cut everywhere. But you just outlined the fact that for him and Salah, it might mean that there's a mixture of responsibilities, of chances, and they might both be actually worse value by being at the same club.
An interesting one there, if you're looking at it, I mean, I think you might get a better season from Dominic Solanke. I think Tottenham will do a lot better. I think Tottenham will be entertaining under Frank. Yeah, Frank played in a very attack-minded way at Brentford that saw the likes of Mbeumo and Wissa score. I think they were top 3 Premier League goal scorers last season, 18, 19 goals. So he will change the way that Tottenham play, and Solanke may have a better season. Solanke, and he won't have the pressure of the big money move he had last year. And the other one that's quite interesting is Wissa at 40-1, because he's the guy that Newcastle want as the replacement for Isak. So 50-1, Johan Wissa. If he's got 20 goals at Brentford last season when he was sharing them with Mbeumo, if he goes to Newcastle and he's their number 9 with the service he'll get from that midfield, he could be an interesting one at 50-1. Johan Wissa.
Does Ollie Watkins revitalised Ollie Watkins hopefully?
Well, I heard that he goes to Man United. There's talk about him going to Manchester United. So if he goes to Man United, again, does that help him or does that hinder him? I mean, I don't know. Bruno Fernandes will be taking all their penalties. He won't be letting Ollie Watkins take one, that's for sure. So I don't know if that's a hindrance for him or not. He's more of a provider than an out-and-out goal scorer, isn't he? I mean, he gets a lot of assists, but Wissa at 50s is interesting if he goes to Newcastle. That would be the move. If they went to Brentford and got Wissa and the other way, I don't think he's going to win it because this market is always won by last year's Salah, the year before Harden. It always wins by the teams that are going to be in the top 2 in the Premier League, and the teams that are going to beat people by more goals at home in when they play in the weaker opposition. But for an each way price, 50-1 Wissa, if he's a Newcastle player, is a big price.
Excellent. Just one last thing on this.
So just one other thing, just to quickly again, Salah again. You got the AFCON as well, so Salah's going to miss like a month of the season, and he didn't have that last year. And Haaland's
and he's a year older.
Yeah, and if we've got Wirtz and we've got and Ekitike and you've got Isaac, there is a chance that he might be rested a lot more than he did last year. So
you said if we've got, you're not unmasking yourself as a Liverpool fan here, Nigel.
I think it's with if they've got. I mean, sorry.
Yeah, easy. Lastly, Mike, Cole Palmer could. Now this is interesting. Cole Palmer could crash as he had no break because of the Club World Cup. We've said this on other shows. We simply don't know because it's new whether these players are going to hit the wall. So
you also got to remember it's a World Cup year as well. So does Cole Palmer really want to go into a World Cup in America at the end of the season absolutely exhausted? Seen Harry Kane do that a couple of times, be absolutely out of his feet in the World Cup year. So it's an interesting season ahead, and we'll have it all covered here with people who've got much more of an idea of these kind of angles than me. I can assure you that. Just
talking about this has made me think, and this is the channel to be on if you want the very best Premier League coverage. But all that is coming. But do you know what? Before that, if you're enjoying these shows, why not sign up for the Betting Weekly newsletter? It's free. Get exclusive tips and the free Insider magazine. So all you've got to do is sign up for free at bettingweeklystudios.com and it will be winging its way to your inbox twice a week. So everybody on the team contributes exclusive content, and it's just another addition to what we do here at Because We Win. So if you're not signed up, it really is a very, very easy process.
Sign up now because the today's edition hasn't gone out yet. And we got Champions League picks, and we got some tennis action as well across the men's and women's in Canada and Champions League as well. So it hasn't dropped yet. So make sure you subscribe to get today's one.
Excellent. And while you're there, folks, if so many people watch this without subscribing to the channel, I'll quickly go through it. As quickly as I'll go through it, just click that button and click the notification bell. If you're not, it's free and it helps us, and hopefully we can help you and you can enjoy our content as well. And talking of enjoying our content, of course, tennis is a very, very big part of what we do, Nigel. And the tournaments this week in Canada, both men's and women's, they are top tier. I know we've had some dropouts, particularly in the men's. Somebody said there was more dropouts in this than if the Because We Win team were offered a trip to a health farm with more dropouts in the male tournament here. But what's happened? Have we got people injured or people not fancying this week, or are we too close to the US Open?
I think it's always been a big turnaround from Wimbledon to come to this tournament. It's like a tournament that people have at Wimbledon and then they have a little bit of a rest and they want to come here. It's a tournament that people come in not 100% fit, a bit lethargic, and some of them don't decide to come. And this season, Alcaraz and Sinner both not here. Jack Draper's injured; he's not there. Novak Djokovic has decided to give it a swerve, wants to protect himself at his age for the US Open. So it's not something that it's unusual, but it's people don't usually play their best in this tournament. It's a tournament that's thrown up some big winners. Last year, Alexei Popyrin won. It was about 100. Well, definitely at least 100 to 1. I would say probably about 150 to 1. But there's been big prices. Carina Busta, the Spaniard, won it 2 years prior to that. He would have been a triple figure price as well. So it is a tournament where you can get shock winners without a doubt.
Right. Let's have a look at the outrights for the ATP in Toronto and see if there is a play here. Now, of course, you've been covering this on Game Bet Match, Nigel, but is there anybody that stands out in this reduced field?
Well, it's not the best of draws, as you can see from that draw there. I mean, Alexander Zverev is Mr. Inconsistent, 6-1 favourite. Taylor Fritz, the American, must be absolutely out of his feet. Alex de Minaur came through, won the tournament last night in Washington, but it was an epic match, and he saved 3 match points in that match against Alexander Davidovich Fokina, and he's been complaining about tiredness on the tour. So they're the top 3 in the betting, and Ben Shelton, he's another one who's played a lot of tennis. You would question all you put question marks about all of them. We've actually gone for Denis Shapovalov. He was 40-1 yesterday at Bet Rivers. He's 25-1. He won the hardcourt tournament in Los Cabos a couple of weeks back. He's very inconsistent, but he's from Toronto. His form on hardcourts and recently has been very good. He's won 14 of the last 17 matches on a hardcourt, and who he's got beaten by has been the top players in the world, including Alcaraz. So I think there's a lot of incentive for him playing well. Even at 25-1, if you missed it, you should. I like the bet. The action has actually just started, so we've just got underway. But the seeded players here do not come into the tournament till round 2, so they get a buy into round 2. So tomorrow they come in. So the majority of these players are seeded. But as you can see, it's like one of the biggest tennis tournaments in the world, and it seems so odd not to see Djokovic, Sinner, Alcaraz at the top of the betting. And when you take them away, you just look how competitive it is. I mean, if you didn't have those three at the moment, tennis would be one of the most competitive sports in the world. You know, you got 16, 20 odd players there, and it goes down to 40-1. You know, with the top 2 in the market, Alexander's with Djokovic, Sinner, and Alcaraz. Taylor Fritz and Zverev will be 25-1 to win this tournament on their own. So it's a huge percentage of the market is dominated by those three. So it should be an interesting week. Sean wasn't available yesterday, but he's back tomorrow and Wednesday, and we'll have you covered with some matches as well.
So what a massive motivation for these guys to win a top event with the guys that they can't beat not here. So you players like Taylor Fritz, it must be huge motivation this week. Yeah,
but he's been playing a lot of tennis. You know, he's got to the semi-finals of Wimbledon. He won the tournament the week before Wimbledon in Eastbourne. I mean, it's got to be a burnout, and he doesn't want to get completely burnt out before his home slam in New York in just 4 weeks away. And then you've got another 1,000 coming up in Cincinnati as well. So you just got to look at players who are going to be motivated and think, you know, do I really want to be absolutely gone at the game? Medvedev interests me. I mean, I know Sean likes Shapovalov, but Medvedev interests me at 12-1. I mean, he showed signs last week that he was coming back to form after a few months out. He's always done well on hardcourt events in the build-up to the US Open. He was the player that considered the best hardcourt player 2 years ago. He might be interested in me, but I can understand Sean's logic for Shapovalov. He also likes Felix Auger-Aliassime, the other Canadian. He was 33-1 yesterday. He's been betting to 28-1 as well. But there's a lot of players in this draw who are injured. Lorenzo Musetti's injured. Holger Rune pulled out last week injured. Alessandro Davidovich-Fokina will be absolutely all over the place after his disappointment last night. Cabodi absolutely knackered after Wimbledon. Artur Fils is injured, missed Wimbledon as well. So it's very, very, very difficult, and I wouldn't be surprised. Can we get a price
for anybody to be walking by Friday there?
Yeah, well, the good job. It's a long tournament. It's a 12-day tournament, so they might be all right by the following week. But
right, let's have a look at some of the. Let's have a look at some of the matches now to see if we can pick a few here.
Okay. I mean, a couple of these games have actually started now in place. So Ethan Quinn against Nishioka is actually in play. Nishioka is plus 110. I actually quite like Nishioka to win this match at even money. You can bet him up plus 110 now. So if you want to do that, he's going with service 3-3. He's just now got even money in play because he's won the point 40-15. So it's going to be probably 3-3. I actually quite like Nishioka here. He did us a favour last week. He came back and beat Brooksby at Washington, which was one of our picks on Game Bet Match. He has been injured, Nishioka, for a long period of time, but he seems to be getting back to some kind of fitness. And he's up against an opponent in Quinn who's not, to me, I'm not. He's not a player that has got anything special they should worry about. Nishioka is the better player, and he is recovering from injury, and there is signs he's on the way back. So Nishioka in play now at around even money. McDonald and Goffin is live as well now. Looked at that one. I was quite interested in games, but both of these are in terrible form. McDonald won only one of his last 5 matches. Goffin only 1 win in his last 8. Awful form. Couldn't bet either of them on the money line. But when you got 2 players who are really lacking in any confidence, the total games was an angle. But the line is 23.5 and probably a little bit too high. So the ones in play, I've just done them quickly. So Nishioka would be my bet now at anything around even money. So the other match is a little bit later on tonight. Bellucci against Gaston. The first time they met and the only time they met was in 2019, which Gaston won. Bellucci has a shocking record on hardcourt this year. Only 2 wins from 9 matches. But Bellucci hasn't won a hardcourt main draw match since October 2024, and he's minus 210 to win this. That doesn't really that shows you how bad he is. But Gaston is shocking as well. But he's 8-7 this year. But Gaston has lost 5 of his last 6 matches. That might be a little bit closer than those odds suggest. I mean, Bellucci will not be suited by this court. It's quite quick. It's played a little bit of an altitude. So Bellucci is an uneasy favourite for me at -210. Roberto Caballas-Baena against Hugo Carabelli. Hugo Carabelli had an injury last week in UMAG. But he played through and got to the semi-finals, but it was clear that he was struggling. Caballas-Baena is a player that isn't in great form, but I look at the injury concern, and I think that would sway me towards Caballas-Baena. They met once before. Caballas-Baena won that, so Caballas-Baena maybe to get the better of Hugo Carabelli. And the final match is quite interesting to me. Borna Coric against Matteo Gigante. Borna Coric is a very, very big serving player. Been around for a few years now, but he's had knee surgery and he's come back from a lengthy rest on the tour. But if he's fit here, the Croatian should never be the price of -118 to beat Matteo Gigante. So I'm not going to suggest you have a bet, because there is that slight worry that if someone returns from an injury, he could get a reoccurrence of the injury. But if he gets off to a fast start and you watch that in play and he's serving well and holding serve quite easily, then I would probably bet Borna Coric in play. So really, on the men's draw tonight, I quite like Nishioka at even money in play. I think Bellucci at -210. Perhaps bet Gaston with the spread, but I think Bellucci at -210 you've got to be very brave to take that. I give Caballas-Baena an edge over Carabelli, who's injured, who's also had to travel from UMAG in Croatia to Toronto in a very, very quick turnaround. So, and totally different conditions. UMAG was slow. This is quick. So I like Caballas-Baena. And in play, if Borna Coric gets off to a good start, and he shows the form of what he's shown in previous years, he could be too strong for Gigante.
And folks, if you're getting involved, Bet Rivers are streaming the ATP and WTA, so the ATP in Toronto and the WTA in Montreal, streaming both those tournaments, so you can bet and watch the action on Bet Rivers, the app, and check out the site. So it's going to be an exciting week. We'll now turn our attention to Montreal and the women's event.
Yeah, this is how they do this. They alternate each year. So obviously the women's of this year have got Montreal. Next year they have Toronto, and the men have Toronto and Montreal. So they're both the Canadian tournaments, but they have them in 2 different cities. Iga Świątek's making a reappearance since she won Wimbledon. You have to go back an awful long time. I think only one person in history has gone from Wimbledon and won this tournament. It's a very, very hard thing to do. And Iga Świątek is trying to do that. She has been helped at the fact that Aryna Sabalenka is in the draw this week. She said she's having some time off. I've seen her Instagram post. She's on a yacht. She's in a bikini. It's quite a good, interesting watch on her Instagram page. She's having a good time with her boyfriend. She's sunbathing. She's chilling out, but she's trying to get away from the disappointment of Wimbledon. We broke down the draw yesterday. I think it's very, very, very difficult draw. Anisimova is very interesting. Obviously, last match we saw, she lost 6-love in the Wimbledon final. How's she going to recover from here? Coco Gauff has a pretty poor record in this tournament. It's a tournament that is full of question marks about these players. And I just had a tiny each way bet on Madison Keys at 14-1 because it is quite quick. It will suit big servers, and it is a tournament where she's got to the final here before. I think she's an Australian Open champion this year. She made 14-1 in a roughly fairly easy draw. I know she has to play Iga Świątek if they meet in the quarterfinals, I believe it is. But her record against Iga Świątek on any other surface other than clay is good. The 4 times they met on clay, Iga Świątek has won every single match. So lots of question marks about these players as well. And the pin dropped on Madison Keys, but with not really much conviction.
Right, let's have a look at some matches.
Yeah, and again, there's another one in play there. The first one, Tatjana Maria against Laura Siegemund, is actually in play. These 2 girls have had an unbelievable tournament, grass court campaign. Tatjana Maria won the Queen's Club grass court tournament. Laura Siegemund got to the quarterfinals of Wimbledon, where she almost beat world number 1 Aryna Sabalenka. An incredible match there. But they're both getting on a bit. Tatjana Maria is 38. Siegemund is 37. So this is the end of their career, really, and they've played an awful lot of tennis. It might be the battle of the fittest, really, out here. I was looking at the total games, actually, thinking that they could potentially be an over. The match has started as we speak now, and Tatjana Maria is going 3-3 with first serve. So unfortunately, we probably missed the boat on the over there. It was 21.5. You're looking at 23.5 now. So unfortunately, we may have missed that. But if you want to bet the 23.5, I wouldn't put you off it. Next match, my old nemesis, Emma Raducanu against Gabriela Ruse. Lots of money for Ruse today. Bet down from like 285 to plus 255. Very shocked by that because Ruse's lost their last 3 matches. They have met once before and Raducanu had come through last year, but it was a tough one. She won 7-5 in the final set. So there was money for Ruse. I'm surprised by that because Raducanu had such a good week last week. Got to the semi-final of Washington. She also done well at Wimbledon. You know, again, got beat by Sabalenka, but in a match where she gave her a real tough test. There's some sort of good feeling about Raducanu at the moment, but there is a move for Ruse. That would suggest that she may not be fit enough to go deep in one tournament and come back to another one in such a short turnaround. So that's an interesting one. Next one here, Eva Lys against Jeanjean. Minus 162 for Lys. She pulled out last week of Hamburg, her home tournament, or the week before last, with an injury. So she's come here. Now, a lot of people come to these kind of tournaments just to pick up the paycheck. You know, she probably have to come to America to get ready for the US Open. So when she's had such a bad injury or injury, she couldn't play in her home tournament. You know, this isn't a tournament that's not, you know, she's a German girl in Germany, in Hamburg. So not playing her home tournament, it must have been quite serious. And to get herself back in a tour, she could have won that tour as well. It was a very weak tournament. To get herself coming over here, I would be worried about that. I'd look out for any money for that one. They have met once before at the Australian Open. Jeanjean won it 2-6, 7-6, 6-3. And I think she may have a chance at the price. Ruse against Potapova. Potapova is in drastic form, absolutely drastic form. Rusic's in great form. She got to the semi-final in Bouchard. She won a qualifying match here, and I always like it when players win a qualifying match here and then, you know, against a player cold. I give her a chance at plus 123 the way Potapova's playing. Also like the over 21.5 there as a lean. But the interesting one is that bottom one there, Eugenie Bouchard. A lot of people will know her name. A lot of people may not like her name. She got to the final of Wimbledon in 2014. She was a semi-finalist in the French Open in 2014, a semi-finalist in the Australian Open in 2014. So she was like the girl going all the way to the top of the game. She's had massive problems with injuries. She played one match in the last year, and her last competitive match was in this tournament a year ago. So she's more or less had a year off. She's up against a girl called Emiliana Arango, who was 0-4 in the grass court campaign. She's a clay court specialist. She will not like the conditions here. She's up against Bouchard, who's probably been one of the best women's tennis players to come out of Canada in recent years. Well, probably is the best in recent years. She's going to have a fantastic reception by the crowd. Plus 265 looks a little bit of a big price to me. And 19.5 looks a little big price. She only won matches last year in 24. And Arango, in her last 10 matches, has only won 2. So she's 2-8 in her last 10 matches in a surface that she won't like. Quick conditions, up against a girl that's going to be cheered on by the locals. And we saw last week what happened when Venus Williams come back at 45 and go on and win when she was 12-1. This girl is a much better player than Arango. She's 31 now. She's going to get given a great reception. It might be the old way to get with her, like Sean Calvert does when he gets with Stanislaus Wawrinka, is to bet her to win the first set. So when the crowd get behind her. But I think there's lots of ways to get with her. I like her on the money line. I'd like her to win the first set. And I think the over 19.5 is very cheap. I mean, 6-4, 6-4, you know, 7-5 first set and then a 6-3 second set. But Bouchard could be interesting here at plus 265, given what we saw from Venus Williams last year. And we've seen it on lots of women tennis players. The women's game isn't as strong as it. Kleister's come back a few years ago and was competitive. We saw Caroline Wozniacki come back in the game and go deep at the US Open. Arango is not a player that will like these quick conditions, and she's not. Her form is dreadful. No wins on the grass courts campaign. She's a clay dog through and through. And I think that this could be quite an interesting look on Bouchard at plus 265.
So if Bouchard's retained any of that old ability, it might be enough to carry her through with a crowd behind her.
Yeah, I mean, if she's going to do it, she's going to do it at a home tournament. I mean, and you know, her body might not be able to cope. We don't know what's going on in her training methods or anything like that. But she did play in a tournament earlier in the month against Anna Rogers, who is not a great player. She'd ranked 256 in the world, and Rogers won 7-5, 6-3. And on that occasion, the 19 and a half was covered, and she's up against an opponent here who Anna Rogers would be a better player than Arango on this quick surfaces. I mean, Arango is in the last 2 years on grass, which is a quick service. She hasn't won one match in 7. She's a Colombian clay out player. Record indoors is awful as well, but it's quicker. So I'm not quite. I think the conditions will not suit her at all. And
and we're told she played doubles against Venus last week, so she's had a little warm.
Yeah.
Right, while Nigel prepares his best bets, I've got to tell you, folks, the content is not finished. Of course, we've got the dojo, which has just come out, I believe, Nigel, as we're starting with Nigel and Neil, your weekly dojo. So check that out as always. Then at 1 o'clock Eastern time, we've got Betting Weekly Tennis Live with Money Mitch 21 and Dustin Fox. And they'll look at all the in-play action in the tennis world. We've then got 2 o'clock Eastern time. It's Betting Weekly Hardball with that man, Doug Kazarian, for all your best bets on the Monday's MLB action. And Doug is back with Fast Break at 3 o'clock Eastern time with a guest, and they talk about the NBA, WNBA betting. So we have got you covered throughout the day and throughout the week. Nigel, I'm going to pin you down. Give me the 2 best bets today.
Okay, I'm going to go for Kobayashi Bainer to beat Hugo Carabelli. I think that Hugo Carabelli to come going deep in Umag with an injury and then to come to totally different conditions and try to do it all again will be a tough ask. So Kobayashi Bainer at minus 106. I'm surprised Carabelli is favourite for that one on the men's draw. And on the women's draw, I did like the... I'm going to go. Let's go for Bouchard. I mean,
yes, come on, let's give it
265. Maybe better to win the first set, but you know, if she wins the first set, you can hedge. If you think hedging's not for gardeners, do what you want to do. But I think she's up against it. I'm not convinced at all by Bouchard being back to her best, obviously from that year of 2004.
Might have to be
11s, but this girl is probably your ideal opponent if you want to be playing in your home tournament on this kind of quick service. The quicker it is, the better. And this girl, Arango, will not like it. So I'm going to go for Bouchard. Byron Burrell took Bouchard with the profit boost as well, that plus 289. So he's serious.
Remember, of course, that both tournaments in the tennis are being streamed by Bet Rivers. Well, with a heavy heart, I am going to back Liverpool. I say heavy heart, but there you go. It's got to be done. I follow money more than I follow Everton. So there you go. I think Liverpool was short, and I hope we've got that point across. And I think Forest are a bit of value in that relegation market to have a poor season. Listen, always gamble responsibly, folks. Thanks for all your comments. Thanks for everybody who's watched. Betting Weekly Live will be back tomorrow. And, of course, all the other shows I've told you about. And we are rattling towards the Premier League season. But we've got so many more winners to give you before then. Nigel, have a fantastic week. You'll be back. When are you back on next on?
On Betting Weekly Live, I'll be back with the tennis. We've got a game bet match tomorrow. I think I'm on Betting Weekly Tennis Live on Wednesday. There's no rest for the wicked, mate. No rest for the wicked.
All right. Class is permanent, as Bouchard fans are going to find out later. Thanks for watching, folks, and we'll see you soon on Betting Weekly Live.